You wake up as the first rays of sunlight filter through the cave entrance. The embers from last night's fire are still glowing softly. Your day begins not with checking your phone, but with the critical task of keeping your family alive. Welcome to a typical day 50,000 years ago. Forget everything Hollywood taught you about cavemen dragging women around and mindlessly hunting mammoths. The reality was far more sophisticated and fascinating than you might imagine. Let me take you on a journey through an actual day in the Paleolithic period, when our ancestors lived as hunter-gatherers for over 99% of human history. These weren't primitive brutes. They were skilled scientists, artists, and innovators who developed technologies we still use today. The morning routine started with rekindling yesterday's fire. Starting fire from scratch was incredibly difficult, so most groups kept embers burning through the night. Archaeological sites from 380,000 years ago show carefully maintained hearths that served multiple purposes: warmth, protection from predators, light, and cooking. Water collection happened daily. They crafted containers from animal bladders, woven baskets, or carved gourds. Every drop was precious, especially during dry seasons. Then came the big decision. What does the group need today? Are food supplies running low? Do hunting tools need sharpening? These weren't random choices. Archaeological evidence shows they planned weeks and months ahead, tracking seasonal changes in plant growth and animal migration patterns. The food acquisition process was remarkably complex. While men often hunted larger animals, women gathered plant foods and caught smaller prey. However, these roles were flexible. Both required incredible skill and knowledge. Hunters used sophisticated weapons that evolved over hundreds of thousands of years. By 400,000 years ago, they crafted perfectly balanced wooden spears for throwing. The spear thrower, invented around 30,000 years ago, multiplied their throwing power dramatically. Eventually, they developed the bow and arrow, revolutionizing hunting forever. But hunting was unpredictable. Plant gathering provided the reliable food source. These people knew hundreds of plant species, which parts were edible when they ripened, how to process toxic plants to make them safe. Recent analysis of ancient dental plaque shows they consumed over 50 different plant species, including medicinal herbs for treating illnesses. Fishing communities developed nets, hooks, and traps made from bone and plant fibers. They understood fish behavior, seasonal spawning patterns, and water conditions. Food storage was crucial, but challenging without refrigeration. They dried meat into early jerky, dug underground storage pits, and in cold regions used natural freezing. Their diet was incredibly diverse, much more varied than early farmers who relied on just a few crops. Cooking transformed everything. Controlling fire for cooking dates back at least 400,000 years. This wasn't just heating food. Cooking released more calories, made tough plants digestible, and neutralized natural toxins. It literally helped our brains grow larger. Tool making consumed enormous amounts of time. Stone tools dulled quickly and needed constant maintenance. A skilled craftsperson could create a sharp cutting edge in minutes, but complex tools required hours of precise work. The technology progression is mind-blowing. Early tools were simple chipped stones. By 1.76 million years ago, they created symmetrical hand axes with sophisticated design. The Middle Paleolithic introduced techniques for controlling flake size and shape. The Upper Paleolithic period saw an explosion of specialized tools: engravers, scrapers, awls, and projectile points. They didn't just use stone. Wood was probably their most important material, though it rarely survives. Remarkable discoveries include 400,000-year-old wooden spears with fire-hardened tips. Bone, antler, and ivory became increasingly important for making fish hooks, needles, and decorative items. Housing varied dramatically by region and season. Caves were convenient when available, but most people built sophisticated shelters. Archaeological sites reveal oval huts supported by wooden posts, mammoth bone foundations covered with hides, and organized living spaces with designated areas for sleeping, cooking, and tool-making. Home maintenance was constant work. Fires needed tending, shelters required repair after storms, and living areas needed regular cleaning. They even created designated waste disposal areas away from their homes. Child rearing integrated seamlessly into daily activities. Unlike our age-segregated society, children learned by observing and participating in adult work from early ages. They absorbed practical skills and cultural knowledge simultaneously. Social life was rich and complex. Basic groups contained 20 to 30 related individuals, but they regularly interacted with other bands. Exotic materials found hundreds of miles from their sources prove extensive trade networks existed. Food sharing created social bonds and reciprocal obligations. Large communal hearths suggest regular feasting events that strengthened community ties. Art played a central role in their lives. The earliest human art includes ochre processing at Blombos Cave 100,000 years ago. By the Upper Paleolithic, they created spectacular cave paintings, carved figurines, and musical instruments. Bone flutes dating to 43,000 years ago produced recognizable musical scales. Combined with drums made from stretched hides, they developed sophisticated musical traditions that probably included singing, dancing, and storytelling. Evidence suggests medical knowledge existed. Plant residues with medicinal properties appear in ancient dental plaque. Some cave art may depict shamanic practices and altered consciousness states. Violence existed, but wasn't constant. Paleolithic skeletons show relatively few violence-related injuries compared to later agricultural periods. Resource abundance relative to small populations reduced competition. These people were remarkable environmental managers. Rather than passive victims of nature, they actively shaped landscapes through selective hunting, plant management, and controlled burning. Aboriginal Australians used fire management 65,000 years ago to create diverse ecosystems. Each individual possessed extraordinary knowledge breadth. They understood hundreds of species, geological resources, weather patterns, tool manufacturing, and complex social dynamics. This contrasts sharply with our modern specialization. Their technologies represented elegant solutions to environmental challenges. While appearing simple, these tools embodied generations of refinement and established principles behind many modern implements. Most significantly, this period saw the emergence of symbolic expression, abstract thinking, and cultural complexity that defines humanity. The Paleolithic wasn't primitive. It was highly successful and sustainable. For over 99% of human history, this lifestyle maintained population balance with resources while supporting rich cultural traditions. So, what did our ancestors actually do all day? They engaged in complex balance of immediate needs and long-term planning. They manufactured essential technologies, acquired and processed food, created shelters, taught children, developed art and music, maintained social bonds, and adapted to challenges through innovation. When you imagine early humans now, picture skilled technologists, knowledgeable botanists, innovative artists, and cooperative community members, all combined into remarkably adaptable people who laid the foundations for everything we've achieved since.